Ford made a huge stink when they came out with the 7.3 V8 a few years ago, with diesels being more and more expensive to both buy, maintain, some of the reliability concerns. These trucks have really taken off. But the big question we're going to try to answer today is, are they what we hope they would be, and are they what they should be? Stay tuned, we're going to find. As many of you know, I work over here at Tempe Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in Tempe, Arizona. I am the fleet manager here, so if you are interested in anything you see here, any trucks, vans, any of that good stuff, let me know. I drop my email down below, as well as a link to this truck. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'm getting really close to 1,000, so that would be awesome. If you guys watched my last video, I talked a little bit about people coming in at the end of the year, particularly business owners taking advantage of some of the write-offs and things like that. This gentleman was no exception. He traded this truck in for a Ram of similar variety. So I figured it'd be a good chance to stop and take a peek at it. We don't see a lot of these newer Fords here, and I've always wanted to check out one of these 7.3s. So here we have it. Let's check it out. For those of you that don't know, when you hear me say 7.3 Ford, you're probably thinking those early 2000s Power Strokes. That is not what this is. This is a V8 gas engine, 7.3 V8 gas engine. Makes 430 horsepower and 485 pound-feet of torque, and that is very similar to some of those older diesels. That's why these trucks have really gained a lot of popularity with some of the other things going on with diesels, right? This particular one is a 2024 F250 crew cab long bed. I'll put the window sticker up right here if I haven't already, so you can check it out with me. Checked out the towing, conventional. It's rated to tow 17,300 pounds, and fifth wheel / gooseneck is anywhere from 17,000 to 17,300 depending on which one. Now, part of the reason these are so popular lately is because they do have that level of power and towing capabilities. So for a lot of people that used to need a diesel to tow their, 10,000 pound camp trailer or something like that, 15,000 pounds maybe, you can now do it with a gas truck. And even a lot of half tons are rated for, well, not 15, but the 10-ish range. I think that's part of what's hurting the diesel market. Combine that with how expensive they are, plus the reliability concerns. This truck is, on paper going to be a very, very reliable truck. Now, rather they actually end up being that or not, obviously could potentially be a different story, but I really, really like this configuration. Crew cab long bed, cab lights, that looks pretty sweet. Most importantly though, how does it drive? We're gonna hop in right now. So as you guys saw on the window sticker, this particular one is an XLT, okay? So nothing too crazy, exciting, fancy, but definitely everything you need. Has a good cab size. Checking out the back here, one thing Ford and Ram kill the game on is having this flat floor. That is awesome. No special tricks to lift it up. Boom, you just have a nice giant flat spot to keep all your goodies. Tons of room here, great size for the family or the crew or whatever. You guys know Ford has their steps right there. There you go. And you can tell it is just the gasser. No def nozzle right there. Regular good old 8-foot bed. She is ready to go. Just checking out some of the amenities here in the driver's seat. Pretty standard stuff here, nothing too exciting. Does have power folding mirrors. Regular cruise control in this one, no adaptive, but that's all right. Regular, pretty standard stuff here, nothing too exciting. A little bit smaller screen from Ford on this side. Again, doesn't really bother me too much. I like the more basic stuff, the more time I spend around the really fancy ones, just seeing all the possibilities of little problems and things like that. I personally really like these trucks. I don't love the middle seat. That's more of a personal preference. I've never really liked the middle seat. I've always liked the center console. So again, personal preference. Everybody's a little bit different in that aspect, but this is actually the very first 7.3 I've got to drive. You guys saw this one as the 373 rear end. I am really looking forward to it because this truck would fit my exact needs on paper really well. It's supposed to basically be the everyday guy's diesel replacement, should we say. Those guys that used to buy diesels back in the day that maybe don't necessarily want to anymore, you can buy this instead and it will still do pretty much any and everything that you need to do. Obviously, a big part of that is longevity, durability, You know the fuel economy is not going to be great, but that's okay because you're saving $8,000 to $10,000 over the Power Stroke option. So I can see how for a lot of people a truck like this makes sense. Like I say, for me, on paper, this truck would make more sense than a diesel. In practicality, are most people going to actually go for that? And that's what I want to jump into. So jumping out on the actual road here definitely seems, obviously I'm not doing anything crazy, but certainly seems to have, plenty of power. Doesn't seem very sluggish or any of that stuff. Shifts feel smooth. It's pretty smooth on the road for a heavy duty truck. I'm kind of going a little faster than I thought I was, honestly. But yeah, I mean, so far, so good. Feels really good. I'm going to play with some of the modes, throw it in tow haul, see if we can feel any differences there. See if it engine brakes at all. Obviously, it's not going to do it a ton. We're not towing anything or going downhill. But like I say, we really want to see, is this kind of the everyman's diesel replacement? All right, threw it in tow haul mode. Definitely hangs on to those gears a little bit longer, just what you want to see in tow haul. If I accelerate a little bit here and let off the throttle, it definitely does slow you down, hold you back a little bit more than regular. So nothing too exciting so far, but again, obviously I'm not towing anything, so it's not going to be a great example. But like you guys know, I do drive tons and tons of trucks pretty much on a daily basis. I mess with a lot of the settings, the features, try them out. I have a really good sense of where things kind of stand in the marketplace. And so far, this seems perfectly adequate. It feels very nice, actually. It feels like a good solid engine, good solid transmission, shifts nicely, drives nice. Overall, seems like a good solid truck, but we're going to jump on the freeway. That'll give us a little more what we're after. All right, merging onto the freeway here. I'm going to get on the freeway and accelerate a little bit, and then we're going to reset the fuel economy. Hopefully you guys can see it. If not, I'll put it up on the screen. Right now it's at 9. May not be a real good example because it's just been chilling at the lot there, but as soon as we get an opening here, we'll jump on it a little bit and see what we got. All right, about half, 3/4 throttle probably. And that acceleration is more than adequate. Very solid. I was up to 70. Yeah, I mean, plenty of power here. So let's root in here. Set the cruise control somewhere reasonable as we can. Obviously, we're dealing with some traffic here. Right now, it's set at 64. I guess 65 is okay. And then let's reset the fuel economy. Hold it okay. Boom. So currently looks like we're going to be getting somewhere in the upper teens, low 20-ish neighborhood. Don't know if many of you drive at 65 miles an hour, so let's go 68. Obviously we got some traffic here, so I'm doing the best I can, but we will see what these numbers come back at. I will touch base with you guys when we get down to the bottom. All right, we're pretty much coming to the bottom here where we're going to turn around and go back on the freeway. Currently it says 19.3 miles a gallon. That is definitely overblown. As we were driving, it was saying more like 16 and a half, something like that. But as we were slowing down and everything, progressively as we got up towards the exit, it gave it a little bit of a boost. So we'll flip around here, get back on the freeway, and see how it does there. So one thing I am noticing, right now we're driving, it's back at about 15. Obviously getting on the freeway there, it lowered it down a little bit. But so far it seems safe to say that on the highway at 65, 68, 70 miles an hour, you're probably going to average somewhere around 16, 17-ish. Give or take, somewhere in there. Maybe a little better if you go a little slower, whatever. This one has a 373 rear end, so your mileage may vary. But one thing I'm noticing right away, this still on paper makes its peak torque up in the upper thousands of RPMs, 4,000 or 5,000, something like that. I could see that definitely being peak torque, but it feels like it makes a good amount of power down low, especially given that it's a gas engine, which is obviously really beneficial when you're towing. Pretty much all the reports I've seen on these trucks, people really liked them. I've thought about getting one for quite a while. It is easy to haul ass in this truck, dude. You barely go anywhere, and it feels like you're just barely moving. But yeah, it's super smooth. Anyways, makes a lot of power at lower RPMs. Super beneficial for towing. Fuel economy doesn't seem atrocious. Yes, the diesels would definitely be better, most likely, under the same parameters. But overall, guys, so far I'm really impressed. Good power down low, decent fuel economy. Has plenty of power. I know I'm not towing 15,000 pounds up a 7% grade, I understand, but just at an early, brief inventory so far. So far, it seems really impressive. Like I say, these trucks were really kind of designed to be the everyday man's replacement for a diesel, so you don't have to spend that extra $10,000, $12,000 to get one, and you don't have to spend, 2-3 times the maintenance amount. And for the average everyday Joe, I think they did a hell of a job. The problem is we all love our diesels, man. It's so hard to get a diesel guy away from one, just because, I mean, dude, those things are ridiculous when it comes to towing. They sound cool, they're fun. And if you really need one, there's just no replacing it, right? That's the number one thing that makes it kind of hard. These trucks are very, very, very practical for the average user who, like I say, tows his 10, 12,000 pound trailer a few times a year. Even if you worked out of it, dude. If you're not towing a ton of weight all the time, this truck's gonna be really hard to beat when it comes to raw practicality. So the big question, guys, now that these trucks have been out for a while, these 7.3s, the 6.6s from GM, obviously Ram still has their 6.4, do they replace diesels for the everyday person, right? Like I say, I mean, they do. They're more than capable of replacing your old diesel. If you're running a, old third gen or something and you want a new truck, this truck's going to do everything your third gen does, stuff like that, especially on paper. But can you get those diesel guys away from their diesels? And I don't know. I'm seeing it more and more working at the dealership. A lot of companies going to gas instead of diesel for their fleets and things like that, just saving that money, saving the maintenance, especially if they're not towing, like I say, 20,000 plus pounds. If you're towing 10, 12,000 pounds fairly regularly, these trucks are more than capable of doing that job for you, and you save a ton of money over the life of the ownership. It takes so long for a diesel to pay for itself nowadays. Most people aren't keeping them that long or maintaining them that well for that long. I mean, all that stuff, right? So at the end of the day, I do think these trucks do exactly what they're supposed to do. And I like I say, I'm seeing more and more people go away from their diesels. Let me know what you guys think. So now that we're back, guys, we drove it. We ended right about 17.5 miles a gallon, which is pretty solid for a truck this size, especially with a V8, big V8 like that. Obviously, that's not a 100-mile loop or anything like that. You guys get the point. Just kind of a quick, 6-7 miles on the freeway to get kind of a generic average. And that's about what we came back at. So for a vehicle this size, that's pretty good. You get reasonable fuel economy. You can tow 16, 17,000 pounds. You have 3,500 something pounds of payload in this truck. It's really impressive. This is truly as capable, if not more, than a lot of old diesels. I think my old 6.0 Power Stroke was rated to tow like 13,000 pounds, right? So do you really need to get a diesel that's rated to tow 20, 25,000 pounds and pay all that extra maintenance and upfront costs and stuff like that? Again, I'm just strictly talking about practicality. Believe me, I get the coolness factor. I know the desire, the things like that. And these trucks don't quite get there. But we've never been shy about loving big rumbly V8s. This thing with an exhaust would be freaking sweet, right, guys? This would be awesome. I really do think this is a more practical truck for way more people than are actually buying it. Like I say, if you want that cool rumble, you put an exhaust on this thing, you've got half the maintenance, way cheaper right away. I mean, gosh dang. I'm like talking myself into buying this truck. But at the end of the day, guys, that is gonna wrap up the video. Like I say, I just wanted to kind of chat about, are these trucks what they should be? I think the answer is yes, they're absolutely incredible. Are they diesel killers? I think they are. There's not really a reason for most people to have a diesel. If you're the exception, you know you are. But for most people, just practical, everyday life, going camping a couple times a year, man, look no further than some of these heavy-duty gas trucks. But at the end of the day, guys, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe. Like I said, we're getting really close to 1,000. I super appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like, and we will see you next time.